And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here for another episode of TecSpertz. TecSpertz is a collaboration between WZMB and the East Carolinian. Anthony here on the mic, along with the wonderful rest of my hosts here, Max, Markayla, and Brendan. We have the sports talk ready to go for you as to what happened this past weekend with ECU football. Just coming up a little bit short against South Carolina. We are going to have everything covered for you and have it all for you. I'm going to send it over to Brendan to get it started for us.
What's up, everybody? It's Brendan here. As y'all know, we unfortunately fell short against South Carolina this weekend, 17-10, only by a field goal in the final seconds of the game. ECU looked good to start out. We had a bomb thrown by receiver Tyler Snead to who caught that one, Max?
Hatfield got on the receiving end for a 75-yard touchdown going down to the far end zone.
To open up the game. Right out of the get-go.
Which is exactly what we were talking about. I think that's what we need. ECU needs to be more willing to throw the ball deep early in the game. Now, we're obviously, of course, Coach Houston is a pass-first coach. He loves to develop that run. But lately, especially with the trench that we have right now, we've been having a little bit of difficulty developing that run early on, usually averaging close to 2-3 yards a carry as opposed to the 6 or 7 that we would really like to get on in there early to start the game. But yeah, we really need to be gunning the ball down the field early, be willing to stand in there, take a few hits. I think if we throw some incomplete passes, that's fine as long as we keep the pressure on with the arm of Ayers.
Yeah, I think if we can start off every game with a big play like that, then we have a good chance of winning it in the end. You got to start off winning to give them a chance. If they catch up, it's okay. I think that we started off 14-0. That gave them a good chance. If we would have got that last touchdown at the very end of the game, I don't think they could have gotten down there and scored again. But we let them get in field goal range, and that's what messed us up. But overall, it was still a really good game.
Yeah, it's just a matter of keeping the foot on the neck. We were up 14-0. Coming out, big gunslinging, just like we said. And it's crazy because I feel like there was no patience after that point. There was kind of just a rushing from the line. There was kind of a sense of rushing from Holton. He didn't want to stand in the pocket and wait the extra second for the receiver to get open. He threw for 77 yards in total on 24 attempts. That's a lot of short yardage and a lot of no yards in some of those attempts.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have time with the O-line. He got sacked 5 times in that game, and that's ridiculous. So if he doesn't get any protection, he's not going to get anything done.
I agree. I think there's got to be quicker reads on Holton's part getting down the field, but then we do need the O-line to at least buy him some time.
Yeah.
We can't have Holton being frantic trying to roll out of the pocket if the play is not that way. We need him to be able to sit in there, have some time to develop. Now, I think Holton's got a great arm. I think that a lot of ECU fans now are asking for a changing quarterback going to Mason Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what we're looking at is Mason Garcia, as we all know, is a run-first quarterback. Kid can throw, but he's also more willing to run it than Holton is. Holton's going to try to throw, look to run. But Mason's going to try to run as soon as he can. And so I think the best choice for right now is we need Holton back there. We just need more protection, which is we keep putting him in the shotgun a little bit more, allow him to throw it a little bit. But there has to be better reads.
And I think what really hurt us, too, is that we didn't score in the third quarter at all. I mean, we came up with no points in the third quarter at all. We scored a touchdown in the first, a touchdown in the second, and then a field goal in the fourth quarter, but nothing to show for us in the third quarter, which at the end of the day, little things like that are going to add up in a big way, and that attributes to the loss here.
Absolutely, but if you think about it, what we do is we score the first play of the game, and then we don't score again to the second quarter. That's even though it shows
you go a whole quarter without
even
scoring
though
again.
It shows up as a 7 on the scoreboard in both categories, reality is we went a good 15-20 minutes without scoring there, and especially missing another crucial field goal. We score that field goal, the whole game's different.
Right.
And so we can't be going these long periods of time without putting some points on the board, whether they're touchdowns or they're field goals. Our offense runs on points. We need these small points going up because we don't know how often we'll be able to get the ball down the field with the run style that we have. So when we get that pass going and we get into that 30, 40-yard range of our field goal, yeah, we need to take advantage of that.
And we also need to find ways to get the ball back in our hands on the defensive side. You know, maybe a fumble, a strip sack, something, interception, things like that to give our offense another chance at least.
I feel like our defense was incredible.
I feel like our defense
was great.
Our defense was playing phenomenal this week. I think there were 2 fumbles and a crucial one on receiver Van going into the end zone to keep the game a 7-0 game early in the first quarter, which is crucial. I think they made a huge improvement from last week. Not many penalties on the defensive side of the ball. They really were effective down there, but as Anthony is saying, it's the picks and the fumbles, which I think we did a really good job with. I think there was 1 pick and 2 fumbles for us, which did lead to great opportunities for the offense and did lead to one of our field goals.
And that's
one
something
of our
else
touchdowns.
I want to touch on because I feel like the offense would have been more exposed than what we really saw if the defense did not play the way they played. Because if we didn't cause those turnovers, we're looking at field position to score 14 points that we would not have gotten that field position for.
And on the second touchdown, we put the defense put them in a phenomenal position to go on down and convert that play.
Right.
Really, we're in a short yard situation because they got the ball on the South Carolina side of the field. One thing I was definitely impressed with our team this year on both sides of the this game on both sides of the ball was staying out of long yards third downs and forcing South Carolina into those long yards first downs, third downs. I cannot name the amount of times that South Carolina was in a 3rd and 8 or a 3rd and 9, which is huge for us because they had trouble converting those as well, which led to many punts. I think at the first half there were 16 punts in the game. So the punts were plentiful this Sunday, but definitely I think forcing that team into the long yardage third downs and keeping ourselves out of there is because if we're not willing to throw on that third down for those long yardage, we're going to struggle with those plays.
USC had 12 third downs, and they only got a first down with 2 of those attempts, which I think is great that the defense held them to that. And I also think that Rowdy Daddy also helped them out. I know players were saying that it was great to be back at home and that atmosphere was loud. They were interacting with the crowd was interacting back to them, so it helped them feel good and get down the field. So holding them to 2 out of 12 and 0 fourth down conversions was great.
Markayla, talk to us a little bit about the atmosphere and how players were going to the locker room and that vibe after the game.
After the game, it was pitiful. I was standing there, and some of them, I saw some tears, I heard some words. It was dead silent other than that. And then even going into the press conference, coaches coming in, Ehlers coming in, Snead coming in, they just kept saying, the atmosphere in that locker room, I would not want to be in there right now if I were you. We had Houston choked up a little bit trying to tell us about the game, so it was pitiful. And, I feel for them. When they had that extra time left, when USC had that extra time left in the game, I said they gave them way too much time to do something with it. So that 3-second field goal, I was like, dang, we almost had it. And, as a player, I can't even imagine that.
Definitely a gut punch, gut wrencher. A tough pill to swallow.
We thought we had it the whole game.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that might have been the downfall, though. You can't think you have it. You got to know you have it.
That's true.
I agree.
And I agree with Brennan when he said earlier they took their foot off the gas. They really did. You can't come out scoring on the first play of the game and then not score until the second quarter. Missing a field goal, giving up a crucial pick six late in the first half with a minute left. They were about to go into the locker room up 14-0 against the South Carolina team that was the clear favorites to win this game, and then they give up a 7-point pick six going into the half that killed the momentum. And South Carolina came out running the ball with their hairs on fire.
As soon as
6-7 yards right out the gate.
And the fact that we scored the first play of the game, the 75-yard, just trickery play that we came up with there, and that only took a couple seconds. That was just a few seconds in the beginning of the game. And really, again, that we alluded to is the fact that we didn't score the rest of that quarter.
Yeah, 75 yards, one play, 11 seconds was the count.
That's crazy. And the fact that we didn't use, the rest of, 15 minutes left in the quarter is, really, at the end of the day, is what kind of hurt us.
There wasn't a whole lot left we could do. I feel like we were talking about it. There was Holton wasn't getting a whole lot of time, and in turn, that doesn't bode well for the run game. It just doesn't. And that's something that I feel like the ECU needs to focus on as well as the pass, just because there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. Patience is the biggest thing. But Holton ran 10 times during that game, whether intentional or not intentional, and finished with -1 yard rushing.
Yeah, we lost 1 yard.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here? We
Right.
we can't keep going backwards on 10 attempts from the quarterback. It just can't be done. Honestly, we can go back to the Mason Garcia conversation, because if you want to talk about being a run-first quarterback versus a pass-first quarterback, in this situation with the way our offensive line is, who do you want with the ball?
Right.
So do you want the pass-first quarterback who can't run as well, or do you want the run-first quarterback?
Absolutely. And I agree with that. If you put Mason Garcia back there, I don't think we're coming out negative in yards. I think we're going to come out positive on yards, but then, in my opinion, we lose that deep threat with the ball.
I agree.
I think that even though Holton has been having some trouble, I think his main trouble is reads, not throwing the ball deep. And if we're able to get him time and allow him to make those reads and allow him to hit receivers going down the sides, I think that Holton's the right man for the job. But Mason Garcia, his style of play is he's going to look to run that ball. and his deep threat with his arm is not like Holton's is. Now his ability to make reads, I'm not entirely familiar with, as we've only really seen him in that Navy game last year, where he made those plays. But a lot of his plays in that Navy game were on his legs.
Right.
And with the ECU style of offense, we are a very pound the ball heavy team, which is very good. Rajay is a very good runner. Same with Keaton Mitchell coming up big for us in this game. But with all the amount of the attempts we've had, the yardages don't add up. We should be having more yard, even though it comes out to a good amount of yards. We're not having the correlation is not working. The proportion is not there. We should be having more yards for the amount of attempts we have. And now, if we're going to put in a quarterback that's going to be able to make main plays with his legs, now we're losing that threat going down deep, which we do have.
Right.
With Holton, but the reads just aren't there. Several bad reads from Holton this game.
Yeah.
You can't forget where the line of scrimmage is in a legal forward pass when you have the first down.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't throw the ball on a dime 2 feet away from your receiver and give a pick six right there. Because in my opinion, that's a smart sack to take. He takes that sack, he's right on the line of scrimmage. We just stay even, we punt it away, and we're still at 14-0 going into the half. You throw it there, give Rajay a little bit of a bobble, because Rajay, you're not just going to purposely get the ball drop. Guy comes in, then Holton can't chase him down. So just the reads are not there, but at least we have that arm threat, and that's where we get into the conversation. Like you were saying, do we want that threat, or do we want those positive yards coming off the leg?
My thinking is, before we go 0-3, try him out, see what happens. If it doesn't work out, we put Ehlers back in, but why not try it? He's our backup quarterback for a reason.
And that kind of leads into our next conversation here. You do not want to end up 0-3. So after this week, the loss to South Carolina, final score was 20-17, just lost by 3 points, a field goal.
Which, before we talk about this Marshall game, I apologize.
Okay, go ahead. What you got?
I do want to ask, do you guys think this is a moral victory for ECU coming into this Marshall game?
Well, here's the thing, and we talked about it last week. We've talked about it, in the previous 2 episodes here. As long as we compete, and this is a game that we really competed. I mean, this is down to the wire. We had it in the palm of our hand, and we competed at a high level. I know that we did not come out on top, but also think about it. Last week, we were thinking we were going to get blown out. Did we not? We were all talking about that this was going to be a South Carolina win.
Yeah.
We were being more realistic than optimistic. And in this case, we actually were just right in the thick of things. So I think that, by the way that we competed, I got to kind of give a little bit of credit here to the team.
At least a little bit. I mean, coming from App State and then performing the way you did at App State, then performing the way you did at home against South Carolina,
Definitely.
there was that leaps and bounds of improvement,
Definitely,
especially on the defensive
great
end.
attitude.
I think that's
in the
a
ball.
moral victory for defense all the way.
Yes,
I was going to
100%.
completely say that. I think that it's more of a moral victory for the defense than it is the offense. I think that it's hard to chalk it up to moral victory on the offense, being that the best play of the game was the first play of the game. We didn't really make much happen there.
Yeah.
I don't know if we get that second touchdown if we don't get that pick getting us in great field position. Because if you look at the game, we really weren't able to move the ball down the field effectively, dissecting the defense on a drive. And so we were able to get that 1-2 plays with those big yardage situations, but we didn't really dissect the defense. And so by getting the defense in there to get us great field position, I think that's why we get our second touchdown. And defense, phenomenal play. One interception, 2 forced fumbles, a forced fumble at the goal line, forcing a touchback, transitioning the ball to our side of the field. You can't ask for much more than that, especially the way they came out of, especially for the previous week versus App State.
I think even though offense didn't perform as well as defense it did, I think it was still like a moral victory for the whole team, because in that press conference it was a whole different feeling than it was at the App State game. A few of them were upset, a few of them were happy at the way they played, but with this one, everyone was just down. Like, they felt that one hurt. They felt that one. I think they just have a lot to go. I think they have a lot to prove now going in.
I completely agree. I think that's a good thing. I don't think we need a team going in there. Yes, it could be a moral victory, but you can't feel the moral victory after a loss.
Right.
So if they're hurting because they know they should win this, they know they compete against CSU. They know they compete against Marshall and CSU, which I like to see that chip coming back on them.
Right.
Yeah, so there you have it. Going to play Marshall now this weekend at Marshall, Saturday, September 18th. It's going to be a 6 p.m. start, so not an afternoon start as this past weekend, but a night game here. And, this is going to be interesting now because Marshall, who beat up Navy, I believe, next week, and Brandon, you have the information on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to make of Marshall right now. They beat NC Central last week, 44-10, but in their first week, they destroyed Navy 49-7. And I don't know what to make of that because we all know Navy's football program. It's never been such a pushover like that to lose like that to the likes of Marshall. So I think if we come into this game with a chip on our shoulder that we did against South Carolina, it's a completely different game. We could go in there and go out on the first play and keep that foot down against them, then we're looking at a victory, the first win possibly of the season.
I think there's definitely a good chance, and I think it helps teams when historically they have a better record in it. So with Marshall, they've beaten them 6 out of the 9 times they've played. So if they think about that, they think maybe we can do this. It's Marshall. They may be 2-0, but we've had a pretty good game our last game, and if they just if they just improve from what they did last week, even defense, they can still do improvements there. Definitely offense. If we can stop Marshall there so they don't get into those 40 score ranges, then we really do have a chance, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I hate to say it, but to me, this is a must-win. You can't start your season with the goal of 6 wins and start 0-3. It makes it very difficult, especially with the teams we're looking to face late in the season.
That's for sure.
So the first game for me was a must-compete.
Mm-hmm.
This game was a must-compete as well, but losing it in this heartbreaking fashion when I believe should have been a W, this game versus Marshall is a must-win.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not we decide to start Holton or whether we decide to start Mason, we need to play to their strengths.
Yeah.
So with Mason, I think if he's going to run it, he's got to run it. He's got to be willing to allow the defense to spread out and push it right down the gut, but also be able to look for the pass. Because when Mason gets put in, they're going to be looking for him to run. But if he sees an open threat, a safety drops down, we might be able to get a post down the middle.
I think that this is definitely a must-win game here, and the problem is that we're playing at Marshall. This isn't a home game.
Yeah.
We had the energy of Dowdy Ficklin in the mix of it, and all of that just charging up the players, the energy, getting everybody kind of ready to go and into the spirit of the game and whatnot. So this is going to be tough. Going on the road at Marshall, a team who, again, we can't really make too much of, but definitely something, a game that we should win.
Marshall does have the momentum now.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous.
Right.
You don't want a team that has going into a team that has the momentum. I definitely think we could win it, especially coming off the performance that we made against South Carolina, where we came out as the underdogs and really competed to the very end. But now we do have Marshall, a 2-0 team, with 2 pretty big victories coming out of it as well. 40 points in both.
Right.
So
and playing at home.
Playing at home, and their offense is rolling, which is dangerous. But if our defense can keep that moral victory and play like they did for South Carolina, I do not think this will be the same story.
I think the defense can win the game for us.
Yeah.
I think they can.
I think, honestly, if the offense, at the stage that the offense is at, if the offense makes less mistakes than they have in the previous 2 games, I think the defense can win every game for us, or at least this game for us. I think they can win this game and Charleston Southern for us. However, they need to be that they cannot go against a 2-0 team as an 0-2 team without the chip on their shoulder, because nobody's going to fear them if they don't have the chip on their shoulder. Marshall's not worried about ECU right now at all because they're 0-2. But we can count on that, bring a chip on our shoulder, and take advantage of the fact that they're not worried about it.
Yes, this game is a must-win. We come into this game versus Charleston Southern, versus Marshall, win it, go versus Charleston Southern, and win that one. Now we're 2-2, looking like our 6 wins are possible. With an entire season coming out, the rest of us, we're facing Temple, Navy later on in the season, which we could definitely compete there and possibly steal those 2.
So going around the table here, predictions of what we think for this game, this upcoming weekend, ECU versus Marshall.
All right. So we haven't scored a whole lot of points this season as a collective. I'm guessing I'm going to go with 21-28 ECU, and I think the defense scores at least 1 touchdown in that game with 3 takeaways in total.
Okay.
All right, I'll go 28-24. A little smaller of a margin. Defense is going to have to do something big this game as well, but offense has got to do something good too. But I think that at the fact that we didn't let USC get into that 40 range, we're not going to let them get into that 40 range either. So I think we have a chance. I'm going to say ECU wins 28-24.
You guys both took my picks. 28-24 and 28-21 were my 2 picks, but I think I'm going to go with 28-24 as well. And I completely agree. I think this game comes down to defense. I really do. The defense is going to be king, and it's going to be that way for the entire season. So we're going to sound like a broken record over here, but our defense really needs to step up because we have been struggling on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to throwing and when it comes to running. We haven't been able to break out big run plays lately, and our passing plays are hit and miss. We're able to get those short yardage pass plays, but we're not really utilizing the perimeter of the field. And we're having trouble making reads. So whenever we do make a great play, we're getting sacked 5 times in a game, which isn't helping us at all.
Right.
So I think it comes down to 28-24, and I think there's got to be a big field goal in there somewhere.
Well, I got something for you here. I don't mean to cut you off, but this is my prediction here. A big field goal you mentioned. I'm going to go with final score 20-17, and we're going to flip the script this time.
Okay.
We are going to win on a potential field goal to seal it off and get our first victory of the year. How about them apples?
That would be sweet.
That's a bold with our missed field goals.
Right, but how do
Yes.
But how do you think if Owen Daffer comes in and nails this field goal, how do you think that changes for the rest of the season?
Oh, the
Hypothetically.
momentum. Yeah, the momentum.
Hypothetically,
Gets
changes.
people all fired
Right,
up.
and I think
Yeah.
the problem here is that Owen Daffer doesn't have experience.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's doing. He's out there against a freshman in Daddy Ficklin Stadium against App State in Charlotte. That's tough. That's tough, especially when he misses his first one. Of course, you're going to have a little bit of doubt. But if he comes out and nails this hypothetical game winner, I think that flips the script for us for Owen Daffer. But there needs to be, in my opinion, there needs to be more confidence and there needs to be better execution. We can't be feeling like we got to go for a 3rd and 14 or a 4th and 14 in field goal range because we can't make that kick.
Right.
That's unacceptable to me. We need to be able to have the faith, and on the other side of the ball, we need our kicker to be able to execute that play.
Yeah.
We can't be missing that. We can't feel like we've got to go for 4th and 14 while we're in field goal range as it is.
That's your one job.
That's your one job. We got to make that kick. Now, if it's a 50-yard field goal, 47-yard field goal, then that's another thing. But in these short yardage field goals, we need to be able to convert on those. We need to have the confidence and the execution to be able to do so.
Well, there you have it. So, this upcoming weekend is going to be a good one. ECU in action against Marshall, 6 o'clock start, and we're hoping for a Pirate win. Let me tell you this, TecSpertz is brought to you by the Big Vape Theory and ECU Office of Undergraduate Research. Last few minutes here on the show of TecSpertz, we're going to throw it over to soccer, some few key information as far as what's going around the rest of ECU sporting.
All right, so right now they are 4-4. They finally got shut out this weekend versus William Mary and Duke. They didn't get as many shots on the goal versus Duke as they wanted to, but this Thursday, September 17th, they have a 7 p.m. game against USF. We've only beaten USF once in series history. They're a conference game. They're always hard to play, but our defense has been on top of things this year, so hopefully they can keep up with it. We're going to have one more conference game, James Madison, Sunday, September 19th, and then we're back to all conference games for the rest of the season. So USF's going to be a big one. It's at USF, so make sure you tune in. It won't be at home, but that's going to be a good game. And then we got volleyball. They finally got their first 2 wins in this last weekend. Natalie Tyson ended the weekend with 34 kills. Sydney Kleinman ended with 42. Next, they're going to host the Pirate Invitational. They'll play 2 games Friday and 1 game Saturday versus App State. We'll also have a few other teams here playing since we are hosting it. And this will also be their last non-conference game before they start their conference games as well.
Which I think that's big for volleyball. Not winning any games and to going into a weekend series and stealing 2, going into the Pirate Invitational. That's a big moral win for the volleyball team coming out there. Now they've tasted blood a little bit. They're ready to keep it going. And I'm excited to see what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like our volleyball team's a pushover. I feel like we could definitely compete at the level that we're expected to compete at. And stealing those 2 victories, especially away over the weekend after not winning, getting 2 victories, I feel like that's a big step forward for our volleyball team.
Volleyball is not a sport that you play a lot of games at home. So now that they've won at home and they won away and they've lost away, now that they're at home, I think they have a good chance of winning that whole invitational.
If you're going to win in volleyball, you got to learn to win away.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And stealing 2 away after not winning, I think that's big.
Alrighty, well, there you have it. I think that pretty much wraps up the rest of this TecSpertz here. Episode 3. TecSpertz is a collaboration between WZMB and the East Carolinian. And again, TecSpertz is brought to you by the Big Vape Theory and ECU Office of Undergraduate Research. Anthony, Max, Markayla, and Brendan here signing off on episode 3. Let's go Pirates. We'll see you back here next week.
Let's go, baby. Have a good week.